Okay, friends, I welcome you to the session on the forgotten key factors that can make or break your agile projects. Team, today we invest heavy amounts of funding in rolling out the agile methodology. We'll train people, we'll bring external coaches, and we'll train people on Scrum, Kanban, and we spend enough attention, energy, effort, and money in terms of restructuring the organization. That means earlier we are having one kind of setup. Now to suit to the agile methodology, we take a lot of management commitment in terms of bringing this product owner, the scrum master, the development team, and then again the supporting function around it, right? So we spend a lot of effort in terms of bringing the agile methodology on the ground. And then we spend a lot of time in terms of training team on Scrum, explaining them the roles, responsibilities, and also the art of enabling them. Okay, what is the empowerment given to the team, and what the product owner is responsible for, and what the scrum master is responsible for. And then we try to cultivate the servant leadership within the team. And then we conduct several events, and the agile coaches will enact how to conduct the sprint events, the release events, the product roadmap sessions, and how to derive the scope cut from product roadmap to releases to sprints, and then how to conduct the release sprint planning, the daily stand-up meetings, the product backlog refinement session, the sprint review meeting, and then sprint review and retrospective meetings. So we spend a lot of energy in terms of bringing out this culture. More importantly, making people look in the form of sprints. Like, you start a sprint, you complete a sprint, you provide a sprint demo, and then you settle there. And then again, you get to the next sprint. So to bring in this particular focus, we spend a lot of effort. But in the process, my friends, we are actually forgetting certain fundamentals, certain key factors. And if you forget these key factors, whatever best effort you spend in terms of bringing agile methodology on the ground, or however money you spend in terms of bringing up the external coaches, grooming your people, and there are many situations wherein your agile methodology is not providing you the intended benefits. Okay, then suddenly you see people are telling, oh, agile methodology, it is same as before. In fact, we were getting better results in previous methodology. So the world is going behind agile, and we are going, but I personally don't see any benefit. So that kind of situation, you see your team members speaking in front of you. Now, what is the secret? What are those forgotten key factors? So if you forget these factors, whatever best you do on the outside, those things are not going to reap the benefits. So I'm going to share my experiences on this particular theme called the forgotten key factors, where I will explain my ground experiences. If you forget this, what is going to happen? Okay, so with this, let us start the session. Yeah, the forgotten key factors that can make or break your agile projects. Okay, the first forgotten factor is the definition of ready. My friend, it may look very silly to you, but I mean by it, right? We have to understand the definition of ready. As a litmus test, if you go on the ground and ask teams, can you please show the definition of ready for your teams? 98 out of 100 teams, they can't show anything either because that is not clearly defined, or because it was not updated for a long time, because we must have defined it probably 8 months back or 1 year back or 4 months back. It is not constantly updated, or team doesn't see value in it, or the team does not know about this. Yes, 98 out of 100 teams that I touch and I ask, what is your definition of ready? Can you show? Then team members have no clue. Okay. What is definition of ready? Definition of ready is the checklist of items that team, product owner together agree that unless the user stories qualify, comply to this checklist of items, I can't accept this story to my sprint. In a precise words, if a story is not definition of ready compliant, if it is not compliant, then team is empowered to reject that story. If the product owner is bringing that story to the sprint backlog, the team is empowered. The Agile empowers them to reject it, because definition of ready not compliant. We say definition of ready means DOR. That means if a story is not compliant to DOR, the team has the empowerment to reject it. Now, what is definition of ready? Agile fundamentally at a broad level provides INVEST framework. What is INVEST stands for? Independent. That means the user story should be defined at the smallest possible and at the independent level, and it can deliver value at the independent level. And the second thing is negotiable. That means what and why of this user story should be clear, and people discuss about this, and people enjoy those conversations, and those conversations actually clearly amounts to the proper acceptance criteria, assumptions, and constraints. And it should be valuable to the business, right? So at the end of the day, when you deliver a user story, it should be valuable to the business. And then it should be estimable. That means the user story, you should be able to size it in such a way that either you can size it in story points, and if it is prioritized for the sprint backlog, you can split it into the tasks and you can actually assign hours to it. And it should be small. That means we want user story to be defined at a level that it can be completed within one sprint, right? And it should be testable. That means all the acceptance criteria defined in a user story should be testable. That means a tester, the team can test it, verify it, and showcase it to the user, to the product owner. So this is the broad framework of definition of ready. Now, in this particular session, I'm going to share my ground experiences. What if this definition of ready is not met? Okay. The first two things I'm going to take is user story is defined at the fundamentally smallest possible level, and user story should be independent. My friends, in the absence of these 2 points, right, that if you see here on the left-hand side, the user story is, there, if the leaves are one on the other. If you see on the right-hand side, the leaves are clearly segregated at the smallest possible level. Right, friends? The user story should be defined at the smallest possible level. I came across many situations on the ground wherein the user stories are defined at a broader level, not at the fundamental level. So what happened is, if a user story is defined here and another user story is defined here, and there is an overlap, like the way it is here, what is going to happen is it is resulting in development of the same functionality 2 times. That means whatever is the combination, the combined cut you have, and that cut is being developed as 2 times, as part of this story, as part of this story, because they're not defined here. They're defined like this, the way you see on the left-hand side. When you define user story at a combined level, you're actually inducing the technical debt. You're inducing the ambiguity. You're inducing the uncertainty within the team members. Obviously, in your team, you see a certain section of people who are clearly logical, they question everything. But there are certain people who are compromisers. Okay, if you give certain kind of guidance to them, they get okay. But the point is, if you confuse the people who are clearly logical, you're actually missing the quality. Friends, I'm telling you, the clear definition of requirements amounts to 55% of your project success. The projects that got failed in my experience, 55% of the projects got failed because requirements were not properly defined. So, in the absence that you accept user story, which is not defined at the fundamental level, which is defined at a bigger level, you have to go back and ask the product owner, this particular user story is defined at a bigger level. Can we take it further? Now you can ask me, what are the clues? See, look for the word and in your user story. Wherever A and D and is there, that is actually giving you an opportunity for cutting the user story. The other opportunity to split the story is look at the acceptance criteria. Usually the big user stories, when you define acceptance criteria, each acceptance criteria can actually contribute to another user story. Again, I'm repeating, my friends. The question is, when the product owner is defining acceptance criteria or user story at a broader level, what are the levers and tools you got to ask the product owner to split? The first one is, check out for the word and. Wherever the word and is there, probably you can split the user story. This is thumb rule. The second thing is, look out the acceptance criteria. The acceptance criteria, if you look at it, certain times, probably some bunch of acceptance criteria together can constitute under user story. And the third one is your grip on the domain, right? So at the end of the day, you have to understand the user story should be recognizable, understandable by anybody, not just by technical person, but by business user or by anybody. Just like the leaves of the tree, right? Just like the leaves of the tree. The tree leaves can be recognized by anybody, not just by scientist, not just by doctor, not just by engineer, not just by soldier. Everybody can recognize the leaf of a tree. Likewise, if you are a developer, you are a tester, your product owner, or anybody, the user story should be defined at the leaf level of a tree. It is the smallest possible. And even a person who doesn't understand technology also should be able to see and experience and recognize the value of it. So user story should be defined at the independent level. In my experience, when the user story is not defined at the independent level, it resulted in ambiguity. It resulted in technical debt. It resulted in delays to the schedule because you're developing the same functionality 2 times. And it resulted in asking the logical people to compromise. If the logical people gets compromised, the quality gets compromised. So that's why, my friends, we have to make use of this lever called user story should be defined at the smallest level, and it should be independent. And this should be part of a definition of ready. And if these two things are not enabled, then we should go back and tell this story is not Devo or ready story. So can you please split it up? The other definition of ready is user story should be understood by everybody, and we should be able to converse on top of that. See, friends, I'm telling you, a small leaf can be understood by anybody, but the veins, the margins, the apex, the base, the petole, the stipple, the blade part, this and all is a biologist will work. I can't understand it. Similarly, in our user stories also, user story should be defined at a level that anybody, that can be business analyst, product owner, or your developer, the tester, or anybody can understand. See, friends, I'm telling you, user story should be valuable. Approximately, generally, a user story can take approximately 2 to 3 days. But the consolidation of that value, everybody will recognize. Like if you are in front of ATM, you wanted to withdraw money. That is a user story. That is something that you can consume. Or you wanted to deposit money. You want to check the balance. See, this is what is a value to the customer. So user story should communicate some value, fundamental value. Okay. So I want to tell this in my experience. Certain times the product owner or the teams, they will actually ask us to take tasks. That means these technical details. And these tasks, they will ask us to consider user stories. This is where we are actually derailing the agile. Friends, you can't ask tasks to be taken. The consolidation of the tasks should actually communicate some value. Probably if you are working in a backend API, then the consolidation of tasks should result in some technical value. May not be functional value, but some technical value, right? So you can't define user story. A task is different. A user story is different. User story is something that usually anybody, any stakeholder can actually recognize its value. In the project, if all the stakeholders can recognize what is that user story value, then you're actually making sense. I've come across certain situations wherein the customers comes and asks you to take up certain tasks, and each task they ask us to take up and consider as a user story, and then it goes into a different thing. So we have to educate them. We have to educate them. Subtasks are different. They are like the technical aspects of a leaf. The technical aspects of the leaf will be understood by a biologist, right? And I'm a end user. I want the user story to be defined at the leaf level. If you are working on a technical project, then at least at the API level, you should be able to experience the value that produces. So tasks are different, user stories are different. If you want to consider tasks as user stories, then application of user story pointing and all will confuse you. And that's not the intent of it. Okay. Then the next one is user story should be defined in a prescribed template. Friends, in my experience, when I speak to the people, right, I come across situations, majority of the situations wherein user stories are not written in a prescribed way. Just a title they will write. And even the product owner comes to the product backlog grooming session and they take pride by just explaining the title of the user story itself. And the title will be like, just like the way waterfall method of requirements, like, withdraw money from the bank. But here Agile talks about, you have to specify the role, you have to specify what you want, but you have to specify the benefit. The consolidation of the role, the consolidation of the desired goal and the benefit, the sandwich of who is asking, what is being asked, and what is the benefit, the sandwich of it is actually making a beauty. That is the agile capsule called user story. But what are we doing? A product owner comes, he presents some story, and in certain times, the pathetic situations I've seen wherein they explain the title will be there, nothing will be there in the if you open this the story in Jira or version 1, and people will be asked to take it up. No, the responsibility, the accountability of ensuring the stories are properly written and understood, the accountability lies with the product owner. Product owner can take help of team, but product owner is the person who is accountable to ensure user stories are written in its format. Recently, in one of the experiences, right, I come across a situation wherein product owner says, okay, technical team, you write the stories, we give you high level features. Then we said, no, let's implement right person to do the right job. You are responsible, product owner is responsible, and we can help you. If it is a technical story, we can help you. But at the end of the day, a user story is properly defined. with the three levers like who is requesting, what is being requested, why is being requested, all the three things. These things is a fundamental to the Agile. And if the user story is not defined in it, it is not due or complaint. If its user story is not due or complaint, and the team has the opportunity to reject the story and everybody has to accept it. The question is, our team doesn't raise voice at all. They just accept it and they just listen. Okay, I understood it, and they move forward. And believe me, my friends, it is the requirement understanding phase. It is the user story understanding phase. The team member is having the opportunity of raising voice. If you don't raise voice during understanding the requirements, you will be made to accept that you have produced improper or wrong quality or bad quality. The choice is to us whether you wanted to raise your voice and say, product owner, I want the user story to be written in this particular form, and it should be fundamental, and I should be able to know, who is requesting, what is being requesting, and why is being requesting. And if it is not like that, then I can't take up the story. You have to speak it up. If you don't speak up, what happens is you go into the grooming session or implementing the story with the concept of whatever you understood, and then because the requirements are not properly understood, you get into a situation wherein you come up with wrong quality or bad quality, and then you and the team will be blamed for implementing wrong quality. So the product owner will be escaped. So you have to ask, right? And the next one is the story should be very verifiable, testable, right? By QA team as well as product team on the specified environments. That can be QA environment, integration environment, or regression environment, or production environment. It has to follow a template like given, when, then. Given a specific context, when a specific trigger happens, then this is the expected condition. The acceptance criteria should be captured in this particular template. And for example, is given the account is creditworthy and card is valid and the dispenser contains cash, when the customer requests the cash, then the account is debited and cash is dispensed and card is returned. This is the acceptance criteria for withdrawing the cash when you request it. And this acceptance criteria should consider happy path, alternate paths, failure paths, and non-functional measures, non-functional requirements. Because if you don't, elaborate these acceptance criteria at the time of accepting user story, what happens is once you deliver it back, then the people will ask, hey, this is not working in this condition. I think the quality is bad by this team. I think, they deliver stories, but actually the quality is very bad, is what they tell. Because we don't ask when we have to ask. A user story should capture the happy path, the acceptance criteria for happy path, the acceptance criteria for alternative paths, failure paths, and non-functional requirements. This is the fundamental grooming. And if the story is not groomed with all these acceptance criteria, we should not accept. And we have accepted it, and the quality will be bad. And now there will be retrospective, saying that where is the problem? And then we try to put the blame on somebody. It leads to demotivation, resignations, and the story goes on. So my question is, friends, I'm telling you, in the software development, while accepting user story, we have to very specifically ask about the acceptance criteria. And one user story may have multiple acceptance criteria covering happy path, alternate paths, failure paths, and other non-functional requirements. The other thing is user story should be estimable. It should be sizable. It should be testable. So you should be able to estimate in story points, and you should be able to size it in such a way that it can fit into a sprint. See, friends, I come across situations wherein user stories they're planned itself in 2 sprints, 3 sprints. Plan itself is actually going for 2 sprints. That means they come up with 13 story points, 20 story points, user story, and that got priorities for the team. And plan itself actually taking to 2 sprints or 3 sprints. That's wrong. Agile says it should be sized in such a way that it can be planned to get completed within 1 sprint, right? And people should be able to estimate either in story points or hours. I come across situations wherein the product claims that they have done enough grooming and you don't have the story points. What will you do if with this user story that doesn't have a story points? How do you predict it? Where can you place which sprint? You know the velocity of the sprint. If you don't know the story points associated with this, what will you do? So my friends, I'm telling you, a story should be estimable. That means whenever you groom a user story, the size in story point should be captured with that understanding. Tomorrow, if the understanding is changing, then you can actually change the story points later. But without a story points tagged to a user story, I don't think it's right. Right? And then user story should capture all assumptions. See, for example, I come across situations wherein the stakeholder says, okay, you don't have that dependency. The third party did not provide an API to you, mock it. Okay, I can mock it, but let me capture that assumption. Because if I mock it, it's not just using a mock-up API. It's about in what order the signature of the API contains. Because today I might assume one order, but tomorrow when the backend team provides the API, the order may change. So it is not just changing the parameters there. Again, you will have to have major rework there. So all the assumptions, whether it's mocking up or using some test data or hard coding, all assumptions need to be documented. And all dependencies, for example, I come across situations wherein the product comes and says, okay, guys, you have this particular vendor has to provide this, you will get it by third day, it will never come. You pick up a story and the dependency on the vendor is not going to be fulfilled by third day, and you keep on waiting. The Scrum Masters publishes, all those things happens. At the end of the day, you can't meet the desired velocity. And today, my friends, in the name of the speed today, and the velocity matters and counts. And what is the point of accepting a user story where there is a dependency on somebody and that dependency is not resolved on the first day of the sprint? Then I don't want to accept it. Right? And then all open questions should be resolved. Right? Any open questions on the user story should be resolved. And then team can give a clear demo to the story. So they have clear idea. So these are certain sample definition of ready factors. You can add more or less. If you don't exercise the power of definition of ready, and if you don't reject the, saying that I can't accept this user story, you are getting into a zone of ambiguity. You are getting into a zone of forcing your people to accept the ambiguity. It leads to improper quality. It leads to schedule slippage. It leads to wrong, perceptions and demotivation within the team members. So that's why I call it's a first forgotten factor is definition of ready. It is very important, my friends. Okay. Then second factor is definition of done. Okay. What is the definition of done? It is basically whenever a team member says, I'm done with user story, I completed a user story, we expect the definition of done to be met. See, friends, in Agile, we enable people, we trust people, and the people should reciprocate to the trust, right? They can't just say, I'm done, without doing all the checks. For example, let's assume that, there is a student, let's assume your son or your friend, okay? And that person goes through just like this top, and say, I'm done with the chapter. And he's not taking the exam serious. We ask him, what are you doing? Tomorrow there's an exam. I'm done. What did you do? Yeah, I covered all the subjects. Probably that person goes through the summary of every chapter and he goes to the exam. What will happen? Fail. So the question is, what is the definition of done? Is going through the summary of each chapter is definition of done? No. You have to go through the chapter. You have to go through the guide. You have to go through the previously asked questions. You have to ensure that formulas and concepts are revised, and this should be applicable for all chapters. That is where you probably can get 80% of marks. So that is the definition of done. So you have to tell your son or a daughter or a friend saying, Definition of done means go through each chapter, make sure that textbook reading is done, make sure guide going through is done, make sure that previous asked questions are you rehearse it, and make sure that you ensure the timing to be provided in the exam, like for which section, what kind of how much amount of time we need to allocate is clear. That is what is the definition of done. And if you don't follow definition of done and just go through the synopsis of or abstract of every chapter and go through it, you face the exam, you fail. Similarly, in software example also, like whenever you are done, there should be clear definition of done. My friends, if you go and ask your people, what is definition of done, where it is documented, either it is outdated or it is not there. In 98% of the projects that I have come across, this is the situation. And in the absence of this, people will say, I am done, and it will go to production and it will bomb, and it will be a series of rework. And you can say, guys, you are doing great Scrum, you're talking all great talking, but the quality is not up to the mark. Why? Because definition of done is not properly defined. The sample definition of done is whenever you take up a user story, the approach, the design should be reviewed and baseline. Why? Because without reviewing the design, if you move forward, tomorrow you think that if the design is proved to be wrong, then there's a lot of rework, a lot of bad mouthing, right? There's a lot of customer escalations, a lot of production problems. So that's why the design should be reviewed first. Then unit test should be clearly written and traced to acceptance criteria. Unit test sign-off should be available. Functional test cases are written and traced to acceptance criteria. That means every functional test case should have a tracing to the acceptance criteria, the happy path, the failure path, the alternate paths, the non-functional requirements. See, the testers can't say, I'm done with functional testing. They need to show this test case is mapping to these acceptance criteria. So by testing these 10 conditions, I'm going to cover these 2 acceptance criteria. Likewise, they should be mapping. That's the power, that's the joy of software development, right? So that should be part of the definition of done. Similarly, functional sign-off should be available. Why? Because accountability. Who is signing it off? I am signing it off. If anything is found beyond, just one second, friends. If anything is found beyond, the functional testing, what is going to happen is, and I am responsible. Similarly, the integration sign-off is available. Similarly, the regression test suite is kept to current. Similarly, regression sign-off is available. The UAT sign-off is available. And stakeholders go is available for production deployment. And so this is the definition of done. We want everybody to adopt to. Why? Because if without this definition of done, it is actually impacting the quality, my friends. So friends, this definition of done is a must-do criteria to actually say that something is done. And I've come across situations wherein the developers or testers, they just don't pay attention to this, and they just say it is done, all those things. So it is not the right scenario. So definition of done is very, very important. And in the absence of definition of done, we are impacting the quality. So it is better we communicate the importance of definition of done so that people will actually understand the value of it. Okay, friends, the third factor is working agreements. Friends, working agreements may look like very, very simple thing for you. Believe me, my friends, working agreements is not simple thing. You can do a lot of wonders with working agreements. I'll tell you some of the examples. For example, there is a situation wherein team joins late to the meetings. And if you go and tell him that, guys, you are joining late, then the people will be offended because you have to deal with egos as well. Then, what you can do is, guys, let's form working agreements. Team joins the meeting exactly on time. Any delay can be flagged by Scrum Master in retrospection. That means Scrum Master is empowered to provide the data, who joined the team meeting at how much late. So we are giving that empowerment in the form of working agreement to Scrum Master. Now what happens is people join late, and what happens is the Scrum Master show that so-and-so person, okay, John, he joined 4 times late, more than 10 minutes to so-and-so meeting, and that will be flagged within the retrospection. Believe me, that just reporting of the data in the team retrospection itself will bring a lot of rigor. Similarly, there are situations wherein people don't pay attention during meetings. So when we figure it out that people are not paying attention, either because they are working on something else, or they focus on their laptop, these deviations, we will empower the team, and in the retrospections we can say we can announce some penalty, so for continued deviations, and believe me, it brings back that behavior back. Similarly, in a situations wherein product owner asks the technical team to bring stories and you feel that that's not correct, then you can actually use the power of working agreement to say product owner takes accountability of maintaining the product backlog, and he takes the responsibility of ensuring DOR stories are written and prioritized. See, we can contribute, but overall accountability is a product owner. This way, we can tell specific role, maybe in this case, product owner, saying that you are responsible for ensuring that DOR stories are there. We can help you, but primarily this responsibility belongs to you. Similarly, the other example is technical team can reject stories that are not compliant with DOR. For example, there is one person who rejects a story saying that this is not DOR compliant. Other members will say, hey, what, yeah, that product owner is really technically sound, he's powerful, and you can't say that. And this guy refers to this particular working agreement and say, if a story is not DOR compliant, then I'm rejecting the story. Similarly, technical team says something is done only when DOD is done, right? So other thing is, I come across situations wherein whenever you receive a feedback, people are taking it personal. So when people take feedback personal, then the whole agile is not, it's go for a toss. So we can form a working agreement that whenever a feedback is provided, we consider this as a gift and we process the feedback, and out of the feedback that we accept, right? Out of the feedback that we accept and that we accept, and we can basically process it and reflect on top of that, right? So that is another example of how you can actually put the working agreements. Similarly, the fourth factor, my friend, is Agile Manifesto. Yes, Agile Manifesto. Everybody talks about Scrum and Kanban, everything, but we forget the Agile Manifesto, my friends. Do you agree? Do you agree with me saying that nobody knows, right, about the Agile Manifesto? Only the Scrum Masters, that too in a specific situations, they may know the Agile Manifesto, right? So basically, if you see, friends, I'm telling you, the Agile Manifesto says we are uncovering better ways of development or developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Because the Scrum is meant for going to known state from unknown, right? This particular game, this particular Scrum is understood from the game Rigby, right? Whitby, right? So from unknown to known we go. So always we uncover better ways. That means there is no fixed way. We always uncover better ways. How do we do it? By doing it, by helping others do it. Now, individuals and interactions over process and tools. That means the individuals and interactions are very important. Working software over comprehensive documentation. So we don't want to go to comprehensive documentation. We wanted to refer the working software. We want to take decisions by going through it. Customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Means it's not about what is written in contract. We want to collaborate with you. We want to respond to the change or following a plan. So the left side ones are more important. It's not that right side is not important. Left side is more important. And believe me, these people have signed it. I've taken the picture. I have taken the picture just to ensure that all the people who invented the Agile Manifesto, they signed it on the wall, saying that unless these things are implemented, and you can't really reap the Agile Manifesto or Agile values. So that's why, friends, let's go one by one, right? Now, first one, individuals and interactions or process and tools. Here, individuals are the ultimate source of value. So you have to engage them early, right, friends? I'm telling you, in the stand-up meeting, you see somebody shouting. In stand-up meeting, somebody, you say they're not coming on time. In stand-up meeting, you see that people are not delivering on time. In the stand-up meeting, you see that people are turning into red in the towards last day of the sprint. So you have to check those signals. You have to act on it early, and you have to talk to them. See, friends, I'm telling you, processes are next. It is people that is first. It is people who are first. Only with good people, processes can flourish. That's why this says individuals and interactions. So you have to see they are the ultimate source of value. You have to consider them. You have to groom them. A lot of team bonding you have to do. That is important, especially in this virtual way of working. Similarly, focus team attention on the individuals and interactions involved. Look at the way people are talking to each other, right? In a stand-up meeting, in a sprint planning, in a product backlog refinement session. Like, for example, in a product backlog refinement session, I've seen people, product comes and says, okay, guys, this is what is the story. If you have any questions, please ask. Nobody asks questions. And then, okay, no questions asked, which means I consider everything is clear. Okay, product backlog grooming session is closed. And then tomorrow, the team members will be asked to provide estimates, and our members don't have any clue. Why? Why did they not talk in product backlog grouping session? Because either because there's a domination by somebody, or because there is no proper domain knowledge, or because the person is having certain diversions around, because nowadays we are working in a working from home option, or because they're not properly trained, or they're not motivated. I don't know. There can be several factors will be there. You have to address it. If you don't address those factors at the time of grooming a user story, and tomorrow, if you ask an estimate for that particular thing, what will that person give estimate? How far that particular estimate will be justifiable or right? So that's why, my friends, you have to focus on attention. For example, you have to, how the people are talking. Everything on the ground is a measure for you. Believe me, my friends, if you want to be servant leader, Agile is the way to go. Look at the conversations, understand the frequency with which they're talking. It gives you a great indicators. Act on it. You will be the go-to person for the companies and the team. Okay. If a person is not speaking in the retrospective, there's a reason. You may probably next 2 sprints, 3 sprints, that person is going to resign. Why? Probably his voice is not understood. Probably he's not motivated. Probably he has other options. Nowadays, motivation is not the only factor. When the moment you are given the alternate factors, then you are getting motivated there also. Alternate options are coming. So we don't know. So you can predict a person whether he's in amber state or red state by focusing your attention. And ultimately, it's people. Projects are undertaken by the people. Problems are better solved by the people rather than processes and tools. My friends, even the PMO, the management function, we need to give extreme care to cultivating the good people attitudes within the teams, within family, within organization. Scope is debated by the people. Acceptance of the product is done by the people. It is people, and people are important. That's what Agile Manifesto says. It says individuals and interactions. There's a lot of meaning inside it. And then build productive and effective interaction among the project team. See, you have to facilitate in such a way that if somebody says no to you, you don't need to get offended. You have to bring that culture. It's okay if somebody says no to us. We also say no to others. The point is the logical picture, the logical pitch that we actually position, and that safe environment is something we need to bring. Similarly, working software over comprehensive documentation. So delivery is the primary goal. Progress is godly, my friends. So today, we don't refer so-and-so reports. We want to refer the working software. My friends, I'm telling you, Right from the day one, if you see how the software is getting built, how people are building the user stories, if you ask them to show in the production environment or the development environment, and if you keep seeing the progress from day to day, I'm telling you, you can say from yesterday to today, I don't see any big benefit. You don't need to be a developer for that. You just need to understand. If you can use Amazon, if you can use your bank account via internet banking, you can as well understand what's the value being developed. You ask them, okay, what is the input you're giving? What is the output you're getting? Just ask it. You will see the difference. And you can tell, compared to yesterday to today, I don't see big progress. Probably technically, some complexity you must have solved. But outside, I'm not getting any value. So working software should be your way of measuring the progress rather than just looking through reports. And third one is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. See from customer eyes, work with customers. Friends, I'm telling you, today, don't use bad words about your customer. If you are using bad words, your customer, you are the loser. I'm telling you very clearly. You are being paid by the customer. Look at the situation from the customer eyes. See, today outcome matters. Outcomes as per customer matters, right? If there is some non-value add thing you are doing that is not providing proper outcome, it is us who has to change. Customer is paying us for a specific reason. Look at the picture from customer eyes and collaborate with him. Don't go with a problem on the last day. Go to him early. They will help him. They'll help you. Similarly, healthy and cooperative relations are very important, my friends. I'm telling you, I wanted to bring to your attention that one of our Scrum Masters, they see that, the things are not going good. And instead of just solving the problem, the Scrum Master said, can we have a team bonding event with the customer, with our customer team and our team? I felt very happy because that Scrum Master is looking more than the problem. They're not just looking at what's happening today, day after tomorrow. It is that person is asking, looking at the situation, how can I build a healthy relationship? That means that person has digested the manifesto properly. I don't have words when that person told, right? You have to have healthy and cooperative relations. And for that, you have to invest. You have to invest. When you have healthy and cooperative relationships, many things will get solved, my friends. In the absence of this, everything will be a problem for you. So friends, likewise, right? Likewise, yes, I want to say, yeah. So responding to the change or following the plan. That means, see, friends, even if you, in the last minute, people come and ask you to change, then you say, okay, I have a 3-story point you want me to compromise, and you want me to take this new story, but tell me what story I should drop. That's it. I'm ready to accept the change. And you want me to take a 3-story points. Ideally, it should not be. During the sprint, you should not ask me. But okay, you got our business. And tell me which one I have to change. At the cost of what I have to accept. So this dialogue is more powerful, right? This dialogue is more powerful, right? It says, instead of, okay, I can't work on this change now. Instead of that, what are you telling? You're telling that I can take up new work, but you tell me which one I have to drop. This is 3-story point work, and you tell me which 3-story point worth of work I should drop. So we wanted to respond to the change, and then rather than just following a plan. See, this is a mindset, and all the people who invented Agile have signed on it. And are we paying proper attention to this? That's the question. Similarly, friends, the fifth factor that that can go wrong is Agile principles. In the absence of manifesto or principles, I don't think we can reap benefits, right? So I can go on and read and read and read. Okay, you can go through it. Our highest priority is to satisfy customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Now, if we truly digest this in our mindset, saying that customer satisfaction is the key, then many things you start seeing from customer angle, and you start solving the problem. You start identifying what is value addition and what is not value addition. Similarly, welcoming change requirements. Similarly, delivering working software frequently. And business and developers must work together. It is not that you meet your product owner on the final day and the first day on the sprint. The product owner and the development team, you should talk to each other. And if possible, if a story gets completed early, you can demo that particular story way before. You don't need to wait till demo day, right? So friends, I'm telling you, the most efficient and effective method of conveying the information sometimes is face-to-face conversation. So certain times, you need to ask for face-to-face communication, or at least video-based communication in the times when you are actually working in a remote situation like pandemic like this. So friends, I want to tell you, when we have to use face-to-face communication, we should not use emails. If you use it, you can't communicate the best out of it. I'm telling you, there were situations wherein there was a feedback provided by the product owner about the team. Then we had to convey that. And then what we did is we first formed a working agreement, and then we asked team members to enable their video so that we all have a video-based session, and we captured face-to-face reactions. And then we told them, look, the feedback is going to be continuous. There is no need to be panic, or we don't need to take it personal. We get the feedback at the end of every sprint, and this is what is the feedback we got. Last sprint, we were given good feedback. This sprint, there are certain areas where we have to take action, and this is the feedback that was given to us. So likewise, friends, I'm telling you, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. See, friends, I'm telling you, in the ground, whenever you talk about complex concepts, people will try to complicate it. They over talk. Believe me, my friends, the person who describes a problem in a simple way, in simple and crisp words, that person is having the grip on the subject. If a person explains a subject in 1 hour, 2 hours, that means probably he's having some backup in the organization who is supporting him, but he's not the master on it. The master explains the concept in simple words, in crisp way. Simplicity is the art. Today, if you want to innovate, it is a simplicity that actually creates path for you for innovation, because today it is the Sega where information is overdosed on us. You get information from social media, blogs, articles, blah, blah, blah. But what I need is what is relevant for me. I don't want all that research, I want what is relevant for me. And the person who can simply explain, that person is what is needed. Simplicity is the art. Simplicity is what is needed. And the person who can able to say, this is relevant and this is not relevant for us, that's what we need. So friends, I'm telling you, the best architectures, requirements, and designs, they emerged from the self-organizing teams, and team motivation is important. So friends, over all the factors I want to tell, that the forgotten factors are: number one, definition of ready is overlooked. When the definition of ready is overlooked, you're actually taking a hit of 60% possibility of going out of the track. 55 to 60% of the projects go on a wrong track because the requirements are not properly handled. And definition of ready is a weapon for us to encounter it, and we don't use it. Second, the definition of done. Okay, the people in our team, they don't know what are the list of items that should be complied before they say something is done. Till 8th day, they say in progress, 9th day in progress, 10th day done. That's it. If a senior member comes and asks you, is it done? Done. Are you giving testing sign off? Yes, I'm done. But there is no proof. There is no definition of done. There is no checklist of items verified before saying done. And because of which the quality is getting compromised. The third forgotten factor is The third forgotten factor is working agreement. Okay, so working agreement is very powerful. It is not just a concept, like to get cooperation from the development team, from the product owner, or to change the ways of working, to change the behavior, to bring changes in the tools, people, processes. Working agreements can be effectively used. And the fourth factor is the basic Agile Manifesto itself. Why? Because if the Agile Manifesto is not understood, we are not agile. To be agile, we need to implement the manifesto. We need to digest it. That mindset should be there. Similarly, the principles should be digested. So what are the forgotten factors? Definition of ready, definition of done, working agreement, agile manifesto, and agile principles. These five key factors were compromised heavily on the ground. And then we say agile is not giving us the intended benefits. So my friends, I want to tell you, for you to be successful, for the projects to be successful, leverage these five levers and you see the power of it. And this is where you can actually convert the unknowns to the knowns. Right, friends? This is a very simple thing I'm telling. Simple things. And as a Scrum Master, as a PMO member, you are liable, you are eligible. Use your weapons. These are use your weapons. Friends, I'm telling you, if we don't talk when we are supposed to talk, we will be asked to compromise, to take the questions, to do the rework and all. That's why in my experience, I understood. We have to ask when we have to ask. This story is not definition of ready. So I can't take it. Step up. If you don't step up, you along with the team are sinking. And don't scold Agile. See, Agile is allowing you. Similarly, definition of done is not properly met. Tell them the team, guys, when you say something is done, you have to make sure these things are done. Third one, working agreements. You want to bring change in the behavior of product, in the behavior of the team, in the behavior of the management. Use working agreements. The fourth one is manifesto. The whole mindset change is coming from manifesto and principles. And without that, why are we claiming we're agile? So friends, I want to take this attempt in front of you saying that, friends, use these forgotten factors, drive these things carefully, enjoy the depth of our profession. Okay, with this, I thank your interest to learn, and I look forward to add more value-added sessions in future. Thank you.